Good evening, everybody. This is Cinnamon Noir.
And this is the Ramen Shaman.
Welcome back to Ebe. So, astute listeners may have noticed that the music and sound effects are kind of being doubled right now.
Yeah.
It's a weird effect. I don't know exactly what caused it. Hopefully it won't be too distracting. I got used to it.
It was more just kind of annoying with that specific first part, I think.
Yeah, that music. So, you may recall last time we ran into Mary.
Uh-huh.
With her yellow rose. She's the last member of her little band. We're not going to have a full RPG party or anything. And we read a curious book here that says that when your mind's under a lot of stress, you'll start to hallucinate, which is true in real life. And the worst part is you won't know when you've started hallucinating. So in this strange world we're in, it would be kind of hard to tell something that's just unusual from something that's actually not there at all, right? So Mary thinks this is really cute. You have a choice to say that you also think it's cute, or you want to pet it, and you can say not sure. I said I wasn't sure. You'll find out the reason for that later.
Interesting.
Anyway, the other purple door is locked, so actually we do need to get something from this room. You may have already noticed that there's a green bunny in a room where all the other ones are white and pink. So, that's a clue. And now we have the key.
Surprised the owner isn't kind of upset that you broke his stuff.
He is, actually. Guertena does not like when you mess with his works. And in fact, he's going to punish us. Like he has before. Whew, that was lucky.
Ooh.
Yeah. So yeah, we're not really hurt, so let's just say we weren't. But there's no way to get over these vines.
Yeah.
Because, as Garry points out, they're made out of stone. Basically, they're a sculpture.
Ooh.
So Mary, who's pretty proactive, suggests we just move on. We have to. Maybe there's something we can use in the next room. So, in addition to Garry having a relationship sort of counter, like I mentioned earlier, Mary also has one. And if you disagree with her, she'll be a little upset. You can basically curry favor with her, or you can contradict her. You know, it's like improv. You can yes and, or you can ruin it.
And you, I'm guessing she has a bad ending if you upset her too much?
There are several bad endings in this game for all the characters involved, so yes, definitely. This game actually has 7 endings of various types.
Interesting.
Some of which were added in a patch. You may have noticed when the title screen comes up that this is like version 1.4. Oh, Mary found a palette knife. Which, you can't use that to cut through stone, but she's going to keep it anyway.
Good idea.
Is it? I'm not sure that it is. I mean, really, what could you use a palette knife for? You could cut stuff, but not a good idea in this gallery. So yeah, you can search these boxes all you want, but there's really nothing in here that's valuable. And after you search a few, Mary will say, you know, we better just regroup. So of course, as soon as you make that decision, you can't. That's the kind of game this is. Mary tells us to move it rather stridently, I think, but we can't. Garry is the only one who's strong enough. And he's rather tied up at the moment, so we just have to keep moving. It wasn't a pun. He's not literally tied up.
No.
I just meant he can't help us. So I originally thought that you could stop this thing, but you can't. You can temporarily stand in front of it, but it'll always splatter against the wall.
Interesting.
And it came out of this clown painting, so presumably it was his nose. More messages from Guertena. What a nice host.
Okay.
He wants children to come to his gallery alone with no adults.
Bit Michael Jackson-y.
Ooh, wow. Too soon,
Sorry.
Greg. Too soon.
Yeah, I guess that's a bit much. It's just... that does sound really, really, really creepy.
Yeah.
I'm like...
I don't think the game is trying to characterize Guertena as a pedophile. I think it's more that he's just... how to put it? kind of cruel.
Well,
and he wants to draw people into this world.
It's not even specific. I probably shouldn't have drawn those comparisons. I was thinking the idea the idea of trying to create that sort of Neverland.
By the way, have you noticed something, Greg? This is the same room we were in before, but those aren't bunnies. No, this is how Garry saw that room. So this is why Garry was freaked out when we saw that painting, because to Eve it looked like a bunny, but he was saying, how could you think this is cute? Like, this is the creepiest thing in the world.
So yeah.
So there's 5... Oh, sorry, you go ahead.
Oh, I was just saying, my point earlier was just that the whole idea of trying to create a world where you never grow up is really, especially for an adult to try and create that, is really creepy.
There's a bit of Willy Wonkishness in here, too, where Guertena likes children because they're more imaginative.
And enjoys tormenting them?
Well, I think he'd enjoy tormenting anybody. No, I think the real-life artist that Guertena is characterized as being the most like is Picasso. All the different types of art that he makes, you know, the strange, surreal quality of it, I think it's very Picasso-like.
Yeah.
Oh, and here's a blue doll of the type we saw lots of pictures of in that room. So it wants to come with us, and whether you want it to or not, it'll just invite itself.
Yeah.
I like the way this is set up because this doll dialogue, you don't have to read it. It's literally written on the wall. But it is like it's talking to you. Although technically, it is just a doll that keeps showing up. It's not really talking.
Ugh.
Yeah, there's some implication that maybe Garry is the first one who's going a little bit balmy in here. So for instance, you're never told whether the rabbit painting is real, or whether the way Garry sees it is actually its true form. So it could be either Garry is hallucinating, or both Ebe and Mary are hallucinating. Yeah, so Garry just gets sick of this doll. You can either kick it out of the way, or just sort of push it. Kicking it is not a good idea, for reasons I've mentioned before. Guertena does not like for his creations to be disrespected. Oh yeah, and it says, take me. I think the double entendre of that is very deliberate. This doll is kind of, how to put it, forced intimacy.
Stalkerish.
Yeah, it's a stalker doll. So this is the next big area, the purple area. Lots of paintings hanging on the wall here, and many of them actually are interactive in some way.
Oh, and there's the doll again.
Uh-huh. Oh, it lives near here. I don't think I want to see the room that this doll calls home, given the way it's acted already. It's probably full of dolls just like it. Wow, 7 balls of paint, as you can see on that palette. So this is actually going to be our objective here. In order to move on, we need to collect these 7 balls. Like Dragon Ball. Only fewer characters die in this game. If you play it right.
The doll has disappeared, but the messages remain.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's because the doll keeps moving around. So, I really like this area, actually. You play by switching off between Ebe and Garry. And you have to engage in puzzles where you affect you affect each other without being able to directly interact.
Interesting.
So Mary asks us if Garry is our dad, which kind of shows her naivety. But you can say he's a stranger, which would be very distant. But you can also just say no. And then Mary asks you a more important question, which is, if only 2 people can leave, who would you leave with? I choose to say I'd leave with Garry, which is just honest. You know, we've known Garry for longer. I would disagree with the question. Like, we should all be able to leave. But, you know, she did ask. However, she does not like that. It'll make her unhappy if you say you'd leave with Garry and leave her alone.
Yeah, no kidding.
And no one would be happy with that answer. You can also say you'd let them both go and stay yourself, which, very unusual. If you say that, she also gets a little upset and says, you know, we'll all find a way out of here. Although, as we'll later find out, the way this gallery works, actually, only 2 people can get out of it. For every person that comes in, 1 can come out.
Ooh.
Yeah. I fool around a little bit here. I did edit out some of the more obvious time wastes, but
Yeah.
It's confusing, you know. So, there are two of these types of doors, one in Garry's area and one in Eve's. The clue that you need to put in is whatever painting is not in the area below.
Ew.
Oh, and we're going to do a little reading with Eve. It's a story about a girl who went with her parents to an art gallery and got lost. Very relatable. This is like Eve's version of being a Mary Sue. Actually, it's the opposite of a Mary Sue. Yeah. Not a happy ending. Hopefully, life will not imitate art.
Ugh.
Ah, and here's another. This is actually a collection of different books. Sorry, my mistake. It's one book, but you can read different pages.
Interesting.
So this talks about different artworks by Guertena. The blank fish. Yeah, that's a word that Eve doesn't know. However, the important clue is actually the last one. Juggling. Which is catalog number 6223.
Ah.
You'll find out later why that's important.
It's extremely rare for him to use real people as his models.
That is correct.
Unlike Picasso.
Yep. Yeah, it's an interesting fact. He has almost no interest in regular portraiture. Everything that he paints is in his mind, basically. Oh yeah, and there's don't forget that tree key. That's going to be very important. Let's get rid of it. Yeah, Mary kind of objects because it's heavy and why would we do that, but we're going to do it anyway.
Fair enough.
So it was covering up a hole from which this nasty gas is leaking out. That gas will hurt you, so don't go into it.
Interesting.
Yeah. And since it's coming up from the floor, you may have guessed that Garry's going to have to deal with it too, because Garry is right below us. Needless to say, do not stick your finger into the tree key painting. You know, even little kids are taught that they shouldn't stick their fingers in every hole. So juggling, which we just read about, is a painting that Garry has here.
Oh.
And it asks you when was it born, but actually the clue is its catalog number, 6223. And for that, you get a ball of paint.
Which is clever because no one would have guessed a number like that.
Right. It's not a year, you know. It's not a year that's passed anyway. Someday it'll be a year. So Garry can't move these bookcases, but he needs to get to that ball of paint. Via trading of existences, the imaginary can be made reality. That sounds like the kind of thing Guertena would definitely believe. And there's just sort of a random philosophical observation, but it really hits home to Garry. That, you know, the more alone you are, the harder it is.
Yeah.
Although, there was a book earlier that mentioned that when you have three people, there's inevitable jealousy, so you really can't escape.
No kidding.
Oh, and I like this one. You read a book about color theory, so one of the color balls shows up.
Ah.
Yeah, Guertena, he's a fun guy. Oh. So yeah, this doll wants to collect paintballs too. But I don't think she can, because she doesn't have articulated arms. Yeah, not a good idea to stay in this room too long. Although, the damage here is not actually based on time, but based on how many steps you take. Which is nice. So there's two things that you need to do in this room before you move on. You need to get that ball of paint and this umbrella.
Oh, God.
The umbrella is actually going to be essential. Yeah, I did. Fortunately, that you can tell from the way the vase is glowing that it's an infinite vase. You can put your flower into it as many times as you'd like. But anyway, this umbrella we got is actually going to be essential to solving the problem of this room. Because we put it on the hook, and then the fisherman, who's above, manages to catch it.
Ah.
So now Ebe can have it. Ebe needed this umbrella. Can you guess why? It's related to one of the paintings.
Not sure off the top of my head.
Okay. Well, we should see it pretty shortly here. So this painting is called Lady Without Her Umbrella.
Ah.
Once you read it, fairly obvious clue. There we go. And now it starts raining for real. So this does not get rid of the red smoke. But what it does do is through the hole in the ceiling, it now fills this vase so that we can use it. That gives us just enough health to get across to this. You literally have just enough steps.
Ooh.
Whew. So we heal again. And that should also have gotten rid of the gas from where Eve was above, which would help her.
Ah, which helps her. So what?
What were you going to say?
Never mind.
Okay. All will be revealed eventually. That earth-moving sound that we heard was these bookcases moving around. I think they do that as soon as you clear out the gas. Oh, and here's more clues. Collected works of Guertena. This is just a piece of flavor text. There's nothing important with this. I like how it mentions that Guertena was working on surrealist works while Cubism was popular, so he missed out on that, craze. Which is the opposite of Picasso, but I don't think that negates my association of him with Picasso.
Fair enough.
So, let's read about the final one, this M painting. Mary, no catalog number because it was the last work he made, so it couldn't be cataloged.
Oh, clever.
And of course, there's a plate in here. You've read art books, right? They always have color plates. And this is what that painting looks like.
Ooh.
Notice the yellow roses. Yeah, that's Mary. That's literally the girl that we met.
I heard Mary's
secret. Mm-hmm. Someone tattled. Yeah, again, sort of this childish thing. Oh. She did find a ball of paint, and all this time I thought she couldn't. Well, it shows what I know. So yeah, as soon as Garry finds this out, Mary starts acting a little weird.
Yeah.
Yeah, the word okay. There's nothing weird about it, Mary. Mary, are you okay? Are you okay, Mary? Speaking of Michael Jackson.
Yeah, that was what I was thinking of.
Let's follow her. She can't be doing too well. I think she needs some comfort right now. And besides, we can't go forward anyway because there's something that only Garry can move. Oh, that's not a good idea.
Ooh.
So this thing's blocking her way, and she's stabbing at it to try to get it away, and it's just not moving. Oh, that was quick. So Mary will be walking around at this point. You can actually talk to her, and talking to her a certain number of times during this period will increase your relationship level with her.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. She's not completely around the bend. She's just a little upset. Maybe she knows what Garry did. It's just possible, There's certainly some suspicious circumstances surrounding where she comes from.
Mm-hmm.
So you have to check the doll. Which means Garry rips it open. Not nice, and maybe not a good idea.
No kidding.
But you have to do it. You have to get that ball of paint. There's only one left. So, it's in here where she went in. See? Right up there. We can just go and take it.
That won't have negative consequences.
Seems a bit too easy, doesn't it? In fact, it is. So now we're going to have to rip open another doll's stomach. In fact, we have to open up several. In order to find the one in this whole room as the key, which is randomly selected. Yeah, blue paint. Anyway, while you're doing this, I got really lucky here. While you're doing that, a large blue doll will slowly creep up out of the painting. If it manages to get all the way out, Garry will have something very bad happen to him. Depending on your relationship with Garry, that can cause him to go completely insane, which will cause one of the bad endings. However, if you have a good relationship with him, it'll just sort of knock his so-called doom counter up a few more points. I think it basically raises the internal counter by 2, where if it gets up to 4, really bad things start happening.
Ooh.
So basically it's twice as bad as doing any of the other bad things. Like kicking the doll, or allowing Garry to break the statue. So there's nothing here, so we just need to go ahead. And Mary's still wandering around.
Yeah.
So let's just get that key. You know, all of the balls of paint have been found, so now we can get it. The colorless room has become a rainbow room. One of my favorite rooms in the game, actually. I love the art style here.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yeah, she's just obsessive. She's like trying to push her way out in places she can't get through. Perhaps there's something symbolic in that. And she's really not happy that we are leaving her behind. Even though she didn't bother to come with us, but, you know, she's getting a little paranoid.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Luckily, Garry comes to the rescue. Ooh. So this music is actually called Garry's theme, but funnily enough, it doesn't play when you first meet him. It only starts playing now. But it does represent him, I think. So yeah, Garry tells Eve what he found out, which is Mary's basically a painting. She didn't fall into this world. She was always in it. You may have guessed that, since I said earlier, for everyone that comes in, one person can come out, that Mary was planning to get out herself by taking the place of someone who came in. So yeah, she was never really our friend. She wants to make friends with people, but at the same time, she's kind of scheming. Anyway, we'll see more of that next time, but for now, good night, everybody.
Good night, everybody.